Hello, fifth graders, and welcome to lesson 11-2, develop a volume formula. Our I can statement for this evening is, I can find the volume of a rectangular prism using a formula. Please pause your video and write down the lesson name and I can statement in your math journal. You may hit play when you are ready to go. All right, here is our solve and fair problem for tonight. It says, Kevin needs a new aquarium for his fish. The pet store has a fish tank in the shape of a rectangular prism that measures 5 feet long by 2 feet wide by 4 feet high. Kevin needs a fish tank that has a volume of at least 35 cubic feet. Will this fish tank be big enough? Solve the problem any way you choose. Okay, so let's talk about a couple important things in this problem. So going through thinking of cubes, I want you to think about what are the important things that we are going to need for this problem. So we know that this prism, this rectangular prism, is 5 feet long, 2 feet wide, and 4 feet high. Okay. Kevin also needs a fish tank that has a volume of at least 35 cubic feet. So he found this fish tank, and we need to see, is it going to be at least 35 cubic feet? Now, whenever we're finding the volume of a rectangular prism, there is a certain formula that we need to use, and that formula is this. So this is the formula that we are going to use. So what this stands for is the V is for volume equals the length times width times height. Sometimes you may also see something that looks like this. Base times height. The B is for base. The base is very similar to the length times width. So sometimes you'll see this. Most of the time we'll probably use this one though. But just know that if you do see base times height, the length times the width is going to get you something very similar to the base. But we're going to stick with this one for today, because they gave us all of the information that we need. So what I like to do, I always make sure that I write my formula ahead of time, always. I just write it out every time so I know exactly what it is. And then I can go in and plug in my numbers. So the volume is going to equal, so we know we have 5 feet long, so that's going to be our length, times 2 feet wide, so that's going to be our width, times our height, which is 4 feet high. So long, wide, and high. Those are going to be our key terms to be able to know what numbers to plug into our formula here. Okay, so now I can just multiply. So I know my base is going to be my length times width. So that's going to be 5 times 2, which is going to get me 10, times my height, which is going to be 4. So that means my volume is going to be 40 cubic feet. Okay, so Kevin needs a fish tank that is at least 35 cubic feet. And this fish tank that he found at the pet store is 40 cubic feet. So he would be able to use that for his fish. All right, let's look at some other student work. So this is Marcy's work. She decided to draw a picture, and she did something very similar to what I did. So she said the bottom is 5 times 2, or 10. So that would give you your base. So all she did was the length times the width, 5 times 2, and then she took it times 40, or times 4, because that's our height, and then she got her answer of 40. So the volume is 40 cubic feet, which is exactly what I did. Let's look at Phil's work. So Phil decided he said, I can put 10 cubes on the bottom. So he did length times width to get 10. Then he did repeated addition for 10 plus 10 plus 10 to get 40, but he just added the height. So he took 10 pieces on the bottom and just kind of stacking them. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So he said, this is 10, this is 10, this is 10, this is 10, and then added them to get his 40. All right. Okay. It is now time for you to summarize your own thinking below for your work. So in your notebook, I want you to think about how would you summarize what we talked about today. Make sure that you are ready to share your problem-solving method in class tomorrow.